It was the weekend of Valentine's Day, 2003. While the world was distracted by romance, a silhouette moved through the dark, narrow streets of Antwerp, Belgium. In the heart of the city stood the Antwerp Diamond Center. This was not just a building, it was the financial heartbeat of the global diamond trade. Even on a normal day, millions of dollars in rough diamonds changed hands here. But the real treasure wasn't in the offices. It was 2 floors underground. Deep beneath the street level lay a vault considered impenetrable. Protected by a 3-ton steel door, Doppler radar, magnetic fields, seismic sensors, and a lock with 100 million possible combinations. Security experts believed it was more than just a vault. They deemed it impossible for a human to breach that steel door undetected. But by Monday morning, that steel door stood wide open. The floor was littered with velvet bags, empty boxes, and scattered papers. Over $100 million in diamonds, gold, and jewelry had vanished into thin air. No explosives were used, no hostages were taken, and most importantly, not a single alarm had triggered. How did a group of thieves defeat what was thought to be the most advanced security system in the world? To understand the crime, we first have to understand the criminal. Meet Leonardo Notarbartolo. To the merchants in Antwerp, he was just a handsome Italian businessman. He wore expensive suits, sipped espresso in boutique cafes, and spoke with charisma. He even rented a small office in the Diamond Center, posing as a gem importer. But this was all a mask. In reality, Notarbartolo was a professional criminal from Turin, Italy. He wasn't just a thief, he was an artist. For 18 months, Leonardo lived a double life. By day, he was the office-working, coffee-drinking Italian. But in secret, he was conducting the most comprehensive reconnaissance mission in the criminal underworld. He carried a pen in his pocket at all times. But this was no ordinary pen. It contained a high-resolution miniature camera. Every time he walked past the vault, he was recording. He memorized the guard shifts, the camera angles, and the layout of the corridors thanks to this pen. However, Leonardo knew he couldn't pull this off alone. The vault was an engineering marvel. To solve it, he didn't need thugs, he needed professionals. He needed the School of Turin. Leonardo knew that robbing the Diamond Center required very specific skills. He went to Turin and assembled a team of professionals, giving each member a code name. First, there was the Genius, an expert in alarm systems and electronics. He could easily disable motion detectors and sensors. The Genius's goal was to make them invisible. Then, there was the Monster. Don't let the name fool you. He wasn't just muscle. He was a master mechanic, capable of picking locks, drilling through steel, and overcoming obstacles calmly in high-stress environments. Finally, there was the King of Keys, an older man, a legend in the underworld. By watching the footage from Leonardo's pen camera, he managed to forge a flawless replica of the foot-long vault key. But no matter how professional the team was, practice was essential. In a rented warehouse in Turin, based on the photos and measurements from Leonardo's pen, the team built a full-scale replica of what they believed the Antwerp vault to be. They broke in, got out, and timed themselves. They repeated the movements again and again until they knew them like their own names. With the team ready, Leonardo had to choose the perfect moment to launch the heist. He needed a time when the building was empty and the streets were quiet. He chose the weekend of February 15th, 2003. The timing was critical for 2 reasons. First, a major tennis tournament was taking place in the city, drawing police attention and crowds away from the Diamond District. Second, It was the weekend right after Valentine's Day, meaning the vaults would be stuffed with cash and unsold inventory from the busy holiday. On Friday night, before the doors were locked, Leonardo entered the Diamond Center one last time. He went down to the vault antechamber, secretly unlatched a window in the secure area, and left it just so. This was their back door. Everything was ready. The players were in position. The heist of the century was about to begin. Midnight. The streets of the Diamond District were deserted. The team climbed a ladder into a private garden adjoining the building. From there, they reached the terrace and found the window Leonardo had unlocked. They slipped inside like ghosts. But now, they faced the corridor leading to the vault. It was rigged with infrared heat detectors. These sensors pick up body heat. If a human walks by, the alarm triggers instantly. This is where the genius made his move. He didn't use a computer to disable the system. He rendered it useless with a simple can of women's hairspray. Moving slowly, he sprayed a thick mist of styrofoam and hairspray over the sensors. This created a thermal insulation layer. To the sensor, the room temperature was fixed, and it wouldn't send a warning. The team was now invisible to the thermal eyes of the building. They reached the main vault door. This was halfway to victory. The door was armed with a high-grade magnetic field alarm. If the door opened and the magnets separated, the circuit would break, alerting the police immediately. The team took out custom-made aluminum brackets they had fabricated in Italy. Why aluminum? Because aluminum is paramagnetic. They carefully taped these brackets over the two magnets on the doorframe. When they unscrewed the magnets from the door, the aluminum brackets held the magnetic field in place. The alarm system still thought the magnets were touching. It thought the door was closed and locked, but the king of keys was already sliding his homemade key into the lock. He turned it. The tumblers clicked. Then they dialed in the combination Leonardo had stolen. With a silent but heavy groan, the 3-ton steel door swung open. Inside, it was pitch black. Knowing about the light sensors, they worked in total darkness for a while. Thanks to the magnificent pen, they knew exactly where the sensors were. After covering them all with tape, they finally turned on their flashlights. They were in, surrounded by walls of safety deposit boxes. It was the monster's turn. Using a custom drill he had designed, he began popping the boxes open one by one. What they found was overwhelming wealth, diamonds, gold bars, bundles of cash, rare jewelry. There was so much value that they couldn't even take it all. They started stuffing everything into duffel bags, prioritizing loose diamonds and cash. They worked for hours, opening 109 boxes out of 189. The floor was littered with gold and diamonds they didn't have room to carry. At 5:30 a.m., they stopped. They cleaned up their tools, resealed the window, and vanished into the night. They had just committed the perfect crime. So far, it was flawless. The team was driving back to Italy, adrenaline pumping. They had pulled it off, but on the highway out of Belgium, Leonardo made a decision that would ruin everything. He handed a garbage bag to one of his accomplices, known as Speedy. The bag contained the remnants of their stakeout, empty water bottles, unfinished food, and torn envelopes from the Diamond Center. Leonardo gave a simple order: burn this. But Speedy was lazy. Instead of burning the evidence, he threw it out of the car into the bushes, thinking, who investigates trash on the highway anyway? 2 days later, a local property owner found the garbage. He thought it was just litter from teenagers, until he saw an envelope stamped Antwerp Diamond Center. As soon as he saw the envelope, he called the police. When detectives saw what was inside that garbage bag, they couldn't believe it. It was a treasure trove of evidence leading straight to the thieves. Inside, they found receipts for video surveillance equipment. They found business cards. But the most damning piece of evidence was a receipt for a salami sandwich bought near the Diamond Center. The receipt had a date and time. Police checked the grocery store's CCTV footage, and there he was, Leonardo Notarbartolo, buying the sandwich, but the evidence didn't stop there. They extracted DNA from a half-eaten apple found in the bag, and it matched the monster's DNA. The perfect heist had been solved thanks to a simple trash bag. Leonardo was arrested a few days later when he incredibly returned to the Diamond Center to check on his office, pretending nothing had happened. The police had identified him as the perpetrator and were waiting for him to show up. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison. The other team members were eventually tracked down and arrested in Italy. Police recovered the tools, found the criminals, and dismantled their plans, but they never recovered the loot. Over $100 million in diamonds and gold are still missing to this day. In prison interviews, Notarbartolo claimed that the heist was actually an insurance fraud scheme set up by the diamond dealers themselves. He claimed the vault was largely empty when they opened it, and his share was only 20,000 euros. Is he telling the truth? Or are the diamonds buried somewhere in the Italian Alps, waiting for him? The Antwerp Diamond Heist remains a masterclass in engineering and a tragedy of human error. They defeated the sensors, the cameras, and the engineering, but they were defeated by their own laziness. What do you think happened to the diamonds? Are they still out there? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this case, make sure to like and subscribe to The Case Archive. We open a new file every week. Until next time, keep your secrets safe.